Okay, so you want to know if Frame.io is worth the hype,
Right.
especially if you're just starting out as a video editor.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that for a long time, people were using tools for video feedback that weren't really made for video.
Yeah.
Using things like Dropbox or unlisted YouTube links.
Oh, yeah.
It was clunky, imprecise, and honestly pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I've definitely been there trying to decipher feedback, like make this part better with like no clue what this part even. So is Frame.io the answer?
Well, it was created by people who get it,
Yeah.
video professionals who know the ins and outs of video collaboration. So with Frame.io, video playback, review, and feedback are really at the forefront.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But is it easy to use?
Right?
For someone who's new to all this, cloud-based workflows and all that?
One of the best things about Frame.io is that it's designed to be user-friendly.
Oh.
The interface is very clean, very intuitive, and if you already know your way around Premiere Pro, the integration is seamless.
Oh, wow. Hold on. Let's talk about that integration for a sec.
Okay.
One of the things that really stood out to me from the research was how Frame.io works right within Premiere Pro.
Right.
Can you explain how that works?
So picture this. You're in Premiere Pro working on your edit, and you get some feedback through Frame.io.
Right.
Now, instead of having to switch between apps and try to figure out what time codes people are talking about, all those comments and annotations appear right in your Premiere Pro timeline.
Oh, so it's all connected.
It's all connected, which saves so much time and gets rid of all that confusion.
That is really cool. No more jumping back and forth between platforms trying to match comments to the video.
Yeah.
Speaking of saving time, how are the uploads? You know how painful it can be to upload those giant video files?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Frame.io is known for having really fast upload speeds.
Okay.
And it even lets you upload what are called proxy files, which are smaller if you need things to move even quicker.
Proxy files.
Oh, wow.
What are those exactly and why are they so important?
Well, basically, a proxy file is like a lighter version of your original video.
Okay.
It's lower resolution, so it's going to upload and download much faster.
Gotcha.
This is especially great if you're working with someone who has a slower internet connection or if you just need that feedback super fast.
Okay.
And then when you're ready, you can always go back to the full quality, full resolution.
So it's kind of about choosing the right approach for what you need at the moment.
Exactly. Optimizing for speed and efficiency.
Okay. That makes sense. Anything else about Frame.io's uploading that we should touch on?
Yeah, actually. So for people who are working with those really big video files pretty often, Frame.io has this dedicated desktop app. It's called Frame.io Transfer.
Yeah.
And it's specially made to handle those massive file transfers. That way everything uploads smoothly, no hiccups,
Okay.
even when you're working with gigabytes and gigabytes of data.
Got it. So it sounds like Frame.io has the speed part covered. But what about the actual feedback itself? How does that process work in Frame.io?
Well, it all comes down to being precise. So reviewers can leave comments that are linked to specific time codes.
Go ahead.
No more guessing games about what part of the video they're talking about.
Right.
You can even pinpoint exact frames and put comments right there on the timeline.
So no more vague feedback.
No more vague feedback, just clear comments that you can actually act on.
That sounds amazing.
And it gets even better. Frame.io also have these visual markup tools.
Okay.
You can use things like arrows, circles, and other drawing tools to highlight specific areas right on the video.
So it's like drawing on the video itself.
Yeah, it's like having a whiteboard session, but right there on the video.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so if someone wants you to brighten up a certain part of the video, they can actually circle it and leave a comment right there.
No more ambiguity.
Exactly.
More trying to decipher cryptic notes.
Yeah, right. The feedback is clear, it's visual, and it's tied directly to the video.
Okay, this is starting to sound pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But what happens when you've got multiple rounds of revisions going back and forth? It can get messy quickly.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Different versions floating around.
Well, Frame.io has you covered there, too.
Okay.
It's got this built-in version control feature.
Yep.
And what it does is it automatically makes a new version of your video every time changes are uploaded.
Oh, nice.
So you can easily track all the revisions, compare different versions side by side,
Okay.
and even go back to older versions if you need to.
That is a huge relief. Version control is essential when you're dealing with, tons of edits and client feedback.
It really is.
Sounds like Frame.io keeps everything in order and stops those "where's the latest file" more.
It takes all the stress out of managing different versions so you can focus on the important stuff.
Yeah.
Actually making great content.
All this sounds fantastic, but I have to ask,
Yeah.
is there a catch? No tool is perfect, right?
You're right. Every tool has limitations.
Mm.
And although Frame.io does have a free plan, to get all the bells and whistles, you'll probably need to pay for a subscription.
Right.
And the cost might be a barrier for some people, especially if you're on a tight budget.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm guessing because it's cloud-based, you need a really solid internet connection to use it properly.
Yeah, and that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Frame.io does have some offline features, but for the best experience and smooth collaboration, you really need a reliable connection, which could be a challenge if you're somewhere with spotty internet.
Yeah, for sure.
So, weighing those pros and cons, thinking about what you need and what your budget is, that's all really important.
Yeah.
But overall, I'd say Frame.io can be a game changer for editors who want to make their workflow smoother and work together more effectively.
Absolutely. It sounds like a powerful tool that can bring a lot of clarity, efficiency, and a lot less frustration to the whole editing process.
It really can.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about like the potential benefits and also some of the drawbacks of Frame.io.
Right.
But let's get into the details. Can you walk us through what a typical workflow in Frame.io would look like, especially for someone who's brand new to it all?
Sure. So let's imagine you just finish filming some footage.
Okay.
Maybe you're using your DSLR camera, whatever you like to use.
Yeah.
You've imported everything into Premiere Pro, and now you're ready to edit.
Okay. Sounds familiar.
So where does Frame.io fit in?
Right. Yeah.
Well, the first thing you'll do is install the Frame.io plugin for Premiere Pro.
Okay.
It's really quick and easy to do. Once you've got it installed, you'll see a special Frame.io panel right there in your editing software.
So no more jumping between different programs.
Exactly.
Already a plus.
It's all about keeping things simple and efficient.
Right.
So after you've got that plugin installed, you'll need to create a Frame.io account and log in through that panel. And from there, you can set up a new project for your video.
And this is where I upload my video files.
You got it. And you've got a couple of options.
Okay.
You can upload the whole project, all the source files, everything. Or you can be a bit more streamlined and just upload a proxy version of the video.
You mentioned those proxy files earlier.
Yeah.
Remind me why I might choose to upload a proxy instead of the full video.
It really comes down to speed and your internet connection.
Right.
Remember, those proxy files are smaller. They're lower resolution versions of your video.
Right, yeah.
So they upload and download way faster. Especially helpful if your internet is a bit slow or if someone you're working with has slower internet.
Makes sense.
It just helps the whole collaboration process run smoothly.
So if I want feedback quickly and I'm not super focused on like the tiny details yet, I can use a proxy.
Exactly.
And then later, when I need the full quality, I can switch back.
Exactly. Pick the right approach for the task at hand.
Gotcha.
Okay, so once you've uploaded your video or your proxy, you're ready to invite people to review it.
So how do I do that? Do they need a Frame.io account or can anyone see it?
It's really simple. You just click the invite button in the Frame.io panel and enter the email addresses of whoever you want to share it with.
Okay.
You can also decide on their permissions, so you can control if they can just see the video or if they can also add comments and annotations.
So if I just want someone to watch the video and give me general feedback, they don't need to sign up or anything.
That's right. They can see the video and leave comments without creating an account.
Perfect.
But if they need to upload files or have more control over the project, then they would need to make a Frame.io account.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say I've sent the invitations, people have watched the video, and they've left feedback. Now what? How do I actually see their comments and work them into my editing?
This is where that smooth Premiere Pro integration we talked about really shines.
Yeah.
Remember how I said comments appear directly in your Premiere Pro timeline?
Yes, I was really impressed with that.
Well, it's pretty magical. As soon as someone leaves a comment in Frame.io, it pops up as a marker in your Premiere Pro timeline.
Wow.
It's right there at the exact spot they're referring to. So no more guessing or scrolling through timestamps.
Right.
Just click on the marker, read the comment, and you can see any drawings they added too.
Wow. That is really convenient. No more back and forth trying to figure out which comment goes with what part of the video.
Exactly.
It's all right there.
Yep. And to make things even smoother, Frame.io has this auto versioning feature that's keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
So every time you make changes based on the feedback and upload a new version, Frame.io automatically creates a new version of the video.
Okay.
You can always go back to earlier versions if you need to, or compare different versions side by side.
So even if I make a mistake or want to go in a different direction, I can always backtrack and go back to a previous version?
It's like a safety net for your video edits. You never have to worry about losing your work or doing something you can't undo.
This all sounds incredibly intuitive, even for a beginner like me.
Right.
It seems like Frame.io has really thought through the whole process.
Yeah.
Uploading, sharing, feedback, version control, it's all there.
That's one of the best things about Frame.io. It's made to be user-friendly and easy to use no matter your skill level. And the cool part is you can start with the basic stuff and then gradually try out the more advanced features as you get more comfortable.
So it's a tool that grows with you as you learn and take on bigger projects.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's a platform that can adjust to what you need and how you work.
We've talked a lot about the basic workflow, but what about some of the fancier features?
Right.
Research mentioned custom review links and approval workflows. Is that something a beginner should even worry about?
Not really. Those features are definitely more helpful for larger teams and more complex projects.
Okay.
But even as a beginner, it's good to know about them because they show you what Frame.io can do. They show you how the platform can grow and change with you as your projects get bigger and more complex.
So let's say I'm feeling adventurous and I want to try out some of those advanced features.
Okay.
Could you give me a quick overview of what they are and how they work?
Absolutely. So let's start with custom review links.
Okay.
Imagine you're working on a video with a bunch of different people, maybe a client, a producer, a sound designer.
Okay.
Everyone's got different needs and different things they're focused on.
Yeah. I can see how that could get complicated.
That's where these custom review links come in. You can make separate links for each person so they only see the parts of the video that are important for them.
Oh, smart.
So your client might be able to see the whole video, while the sound designer only sees the parts with the audio they need to check.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Keeps things organized and helps everyone stay focused.
Yeah.
It streamlines the feedback and stops people from getting overwhelmed with information that's not relevant to them.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And then what about approval workflows?
Okay. How do those work?
Well, think of it as a way to make the feedback process official. You can choose specific people to be approvers.
Okay.
And then they get a notification asking them to review the video and either approve it or reject it.
So it's like a digital sign-off for each stage of the project.
Exactly. It keeps track of who has signed off on what and makes sure everyone's on the same page. It adds accountability and transparency to the whole process.
So those approval workflows sound like they could really streamline things.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working with clients who need to give their approval at different points in the project.
Right.
It takes out the guesswork from the whole approval process.
Exactly. Everyone stays in the loop, and you've got a clear record of who approved what and when. It can be a real lifesaver when it comes to managing expectations and avoiding miscommunication.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the basics of Frame.io to some of the more advanced stuff. But I keep coming back to that first question. Is Frame.io really worth it for someone just starting out?
That's a great question. And I think the key is that Frame.io can be as simple or as complex as you need it to be. You don't have to jump into the deep end right away and use every single feature.
Right.
Just start with what you need.
So for a brand new user, what are the essential features to focus on?
Start with the core functions. Uploading your videos, sharing those review links, and getting time-coded feedback. That alone is already a massive improvement over using email or Dropbox. It'll streamline your workflow and make collaboration so much simpler.
Okay, so get comfy with the basics, and then as I work on bigger projects or with larger teams, I can start exploring those more advanced features.
Exactly. Frame.io grows with you. As your needs change, you can start using those features like custom review links, version control, and approval workflows. It's all about finding the right tools for the job.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a much better grasp of what Frame.io is, how it works, and how it can help video editors at all levels.
It's an incredibly powerful platform that can totally change how you approach video editing and collaboration. And the best part is it's always getting better, with new features and updates being added all the time.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners?
If you're a video editor, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for years, Frame.io is definitely something to check out. It can streamline your workflow, simplify collaboration, and help you make better videos. It's all about giving you the tools to focus on what you're good at, making your creative vision a reality, And as you start experimenting with Frame.io, think about how you can use its collaborative features, not just to make your workflow better, but also to boost your creative process.
That's interesting.
What would happen if you got feedback earlier in the editing process? Could you discover new ideas or perspectives you hadn't thought of before?
Yeah.
Frame.io gives you the tools to experiment, to refine your work, and to collaborate more effectively, opening up a ton of creative possibilities.
Okay, so you're saying don't be afraid
Yeah.
to
Don't be afraid to get feedback early and often.
get feedback early on.
It can only make your work better.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and Frame.io just makes that process so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a really great point to end on.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about like the pros and cons, the features, how to use Frame.io.
Yep.
But let's actually walk through a typical workflow step by step,
Okay.
especially for someone who's new to all this.
All right. So let's say you've just wrapped up shooting some footage.
Okay.
Maybe with your trusty DSLR camera, whatever camera you like to use.
Gotcha.
You've imported it all into Premiere Pro, and you're ready to start editing.
Okay, so far so good.
Now, where does Frame.io come in?
Yeah, where does it fit in?
Well, the first thing you'll want to do is install the Frame.io plugin for Premiere Pro.
Okay.
It's super quick and easy to do. Once you've got it installed, you'll see a dedicated Frame.io panel right there in your editing software.
So I don't have to switch between programs?
Nope.
That's great.
It's all about keeping things simple and efficient.
Right.
Once that plugin's in, you'll need to make a Frame.io account and sign in through the panel.
Okay.
And from there, you can create a new project specifically for your video.
So is that where I upload my video files?
Exactly. And you've got a couple options here. You can upload your whole project, all the source files, everything.
Okay.
Or you can take a more streamlined approach and just upload a proxy version of your video.
You mentioned those proxy files before.
Yeah.
Can you remind me why I'd choose to upload a proxy instead of the full resolution video?
It comes down to speed and bandwidth.
Right.
Remember, those proxy files are those smaller, lower resolution versions of your original video.
Yes.
They upload and download much faster, which is especially helpful if your internet connection's a bit slow or if you're working with someone who has a slower connection.
Okay.
It's all about making that collaboration process smoother.
So if I want to get feedback quickly, I can upload a proxy, and then later on, when I need to work with the full quality, I can switch back.
Exactly. You choose the right tool for what you're doing at that moment.
Got it.
Okay, so once your video or your proxy is uploaded, you're ready to invite people to review it.
Okay, so how do I invite people to take a look?
It's really easy. You click that invite button in the Frame.io panel,
Okay.
type in the email addresses of everyone you want to share it with,
Good.
and then you can actually set their permission levels too, so you control whether they can just view it or if they can leave comments and make annotations.
So if I just want someone to see the video and give some general feedback, they don't need to sign up for anything.
That's right. They can view the video and leave comments without creating an account.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if they want to do more, like upload files, then they would need a Frame.io account.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So let's say I've sent out those invitations, people have watched the video, and they've left me some feedback. What's next? How do I actually see their comments and use them in my editing?
This is where that seamless Premiere Pro integration we talked about really shines. Remember how I said the comments appear right in your Premiere Pro timeline?
Yes, that was one of the things that really impressed me.
It works like magic, really. As soon as someone leaves a comment on your video in Frame.io, it shows up as a marker right on your Premiere Pro timeline,
Oh, wow.
right at the exact moment they're talking about. No more guesswork or scrolling through time codes.
That's
So
great.
you just click on the marker, read the comment, and you can see any annotations they might have added to.
Wow, that is so convenient. No more jumping back and forth trying to figure out what comment goes with what part of the video.
It's all right there.
Yeah, it's all right there in my editing environment.
And to make things even easier, Frame.io has this auto-versioning feature that keeps track of everything.
Right.
Each time you make changes based on the feedback and upload a new version,
Right.
Frame.io automatically creates a new version of the video.
Oh, that's smart.
So you can always go back to those previous versions if you need to, or compare different versions side by side.
So even if I make a mistake or I decide I want to go in a different direction, I can always go back and revert to an earlier version.
Exactly. It's like having a safety net for your video edits.
That's a great way to put it.
You never have to worry about losing your work or making changes you can't undo.
This all sounds incredibly intuitive, even for someone who's new to cloud-based workflows like me.
It is.
It seems like Frame.io has really thought through the whole process from start to finish.
They really have. One of the best things about Frame.io is it's designed to be user-friendly,
Yeah.
no matter your experience level. And you can start with those basic features and then gradually explore the more advanced features as you become more familiar with the platform.
So it's a tool that can grow with you as you develop your skills and take on more complex projects.
Precisely. It's not just a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a platform that can adapt to your needs and your workflow as you go.
We've talked a lot about the basic workflow, but what about some of those more advanced features? The research you sent mentioned things like custom review links and approval workflows. Are those things that a beginner would need to worry about?
Not really. Those features are definitely more beneficial for larger teams and more complex projects. But even as a beginner, it's good to be aware of them because they highlight the possibilities of Frame.io. They show you how the platform can evolve and scale to meet your needs as your projects grow in scope and complexity.
So let's say I'm starting to feel a bit more adventurous, and I want to explore some of those advanced features. Can you give me a quick overview of what they are and how they work?
Sure, let's start with custom review links.
Okay.
So imagine you're working on a video with multiple stakeholders, maybe a client, a producer, a sound designer. Each person has different needs and areas of focus.
Okay, I could see how that get complicated.
That's where custom review links come in handy. You can create separate links for each person, giving them access to only the parts of the video that are relevant to them.
Oh, that's smart.
So your client might have access to the entire video, while the sound designer only sees the sections with the audio they need to review.
That makes a lot of sense. It keeps things organized and helps everyone focus on their specific areas of responsibility.
Exactly. It streamlines the feedback process and prevents people from getting overwhelmed with information that isn't relevant to them.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What about approval workflows? How do those work?
Think of approval workflows as a way to formalize the feedback process. You can assign specific people as approvers, and they'll receive a notification prompting them to review the video and either approve or reject it.
So it's like a digital sign-off sheet for each stage of the project.
You got it. It's a way to keep track of who has signed off on what and ensure that everyone is on the same page.
Right.
It adds a layer of accountability and transparency to the entire process.
It adds a layer of accountability and transparency to the entire process.
Exactly. It keeps everyone in the loop, and there's a clear record of who approved what and when. It can be a real lifesaver when it comes to, managing expectations and avoiding those misunderstandings.
So those approval workflows sound like they could really streamline things, especially when you're working with clients who need to sign off at different stages of the project.
Yeah.
It's like taking the guesswork out of the whole approval process.
Exactly. It keeps everyone on the same page, and you've got that clear record of who did what and when.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the basics of Frame.io to some of the more advanced features.
Right.
But I keep coming back to that initial question.
Yeah.
Is Frame.io really worth it for someone who's just starting out?
That's a great question, and I think it's important to remember that Frame.io can be as simple or as complex as you need it to be.
Okay.
You don't have to jump in and start using every single feature right away.
So for someone brand new to all this, what are the essential features to focus on?
I'd say start with the core functions, like uploading your videos, sharing those review links, and getting that time-coded feedback. That alone is already a huge improvement over using traditional methods like email or Dropbox.
Right.
It'll make your workflow smoother and collaboration much easier.
Okay, so get comfortable with those basics, and then as I start working on bigger projects or collaborating with bigger teams, I can explore those more advanced features.
Exactly. Frame.io grows with you as your needs change. You can start incorporating those features like custom review links, version control, and those approval workflows. It's all about having the right tools for the job.
This deep dive has been incredibly helpful. I feel like I have a much better understanding of what Frame.io is, how it works, and how it can benefit video editors at all levels.
Yeah, it's a powerful platform that can really change how you approach video editing and collaboration. And the best part is, it's always evolving, with new features and updates coming out all the time.
So what does this all mean for our listeners?
If you're a video editor, whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for years, Frame.io is worth checking out. It can streamline your workflow, make collaborating easier, and help you create better videos.
Yeah.
It gives you the tools to focus on what you're best at, bringing that creative vision of yours to life.
And as you start experimenting with Frame.io, think about how you can use those collaborative features to not just improve your workflow, but to actually boost your creative process.
Right. What if you invited feedback earlier in the editing process? Could you discover new ideas or perspectives you hadn't thought of before?
That's an interesting thought.
Frame.io gives you those tools to experiment, to iterate, and to collaborate more effectively.
Yeah.
It opens up a ton of creative possibilities.
So you're saying don't be afraid to
Don't be afraid to get that feedback early and often.
get feedback early in the process.
Exactly. It can only make your work better.
I love that idea.
Yeah, and Frame.io makes that whole process so much smoother.
I completely agree. That's a really great point to end on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the pros and cons, all the features, how to use Frame.io. But let's walk through a typical workflow,
Okay.
step by step,
Sure.
especially for someone who's new to this whole thing.
All right, so let's say you've just finished shooting some footage,
Okay.
maybe with your DSLR camera, whatever you like to use.
Okay, makes sense.
You've imported everything into Premiere Pro, and now you're ready to start editing.
So far, so good.
Now, where does Frame.io come in?
Yeah, where does it fit into all of this?
Well, the first thing you'll do is install that Frame.io plugin for Premiere Pro.
Okay.
It's super quick and easy. Once you've got it installed, you'll see a special Frame.io panel right in your editing software.
So I don't have to switch between different programs?
Nope, it's all right there.
Perfect. Love that.
It keeps things nice and efficient.
Right.
Once the plugin's installed, you make a Frame.io account, sign in through that panel.
Okay.
From there, you create a new project just for your video.
Okay, and this is where I would upload all my files.
You got it. And you've got some options. You can either upload the whole project, all the source files, the works, or you can choose a more streamlined approach and just upload a proxy version of your video.
You've mentioned those proxy files a few times.
Yeah.
Why would I choose to upload a proxy instead of the full resolution video?
It comes down to speed and bandwidth.
Right.
Remember, proxy files are smaller, lower resolution versions of your original video.
Yeah.
They'll upload and download so much faster, especially helpful if you have a slower internet connection or if someone you're working with does.
Right.
It just makes that collaboration process smoother.
Okay, that makes sense. So if I want feedback quickly, I can upload that proxy,
Yeah,
and then later, when I need the full quality, I can switch back.
exactly. You choose the best tool for what you need in the moment.
Awesome.
Okay, so once your video or your proxy is uploaded, you're all set to invite people to review it.
How do we do that?
Super simple. Just click the invite button in the Frame.io panel, enter the email addresses of everyone you want to share it with, and then you can set their permission levels too.
Okay.
That way you can control if they can just view the video or if they can leave comments and annotations as well.
So if I just want someone to watch the video and give me general feedback, they don't have to sign up for anything.
Nope, they can watch the video and leave comments without making an account.
That's great.
But if they want to upload files or need more control, then they would need to create an account.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say I've sent those invitations, people have watched it, they've left some feedback. What happens next? How do I actually see their comments and incorporate them into my editing?
This is where that Premiere Pro integration really shines.
Yeah.
Remember those comments appearing right in your Premiere Pro timeline?
Yes.
That was super impressive.
It's almost like magic. As soon as someone comments on your video in Frame.io, it pops up as a marker right in your Premiere Pro timeline.
Wow.
It's right there at the exact spot they're talking about. No more guessing or scrolling through time codes.
So helpful. You just click on the marker or read the comment. You can see any annotations they might have added too.
That is so convenient.
Yeah.
No more back and forth trying to figure out which comment goes with which part of the video.
It's all right there in your editing environment.
That's amazing.
And to make things even smoother, Frame.io has that auto-versioning feature keeping track of everything.
Right.
Each time you make a change based on the feedback and you upload a new version, Frame.io automatically makes a new version of that video.
So smart.
So you can always go back to previous versions if you need to, compare different versions side by side.
So if I make a mistake, or if I decide, you know what, I want to go in a totally different direction, I can always go back to a previous version.
Exactly. It's like a safety net for your edits.
I love that.
Yeah.
It sounds incredibly intuitive, even for someone new to cloud-based workflows like me. It feels like Frame.io has thought through every step of the way.
They really have. One of the best things about Frame.io is that it's designed to be user-friendly, no matter your experience level. And you can start with those basic features, and then as you get more comfortable, gradually explore the more advanced features.
So it's a tool that can grow with you as you take on more complex projects.
Exactly. It adapts to your needs.
I really appreciate you walking us through all of this.
Of course.
This deep dive has been so informative.
Glad to hear it.
I feel like I have a much clearer picture of what Frame.io is, how it works, and all the ways it can be helpful for video editors.
Yeah, and it's really exciting to see how this kind of technology is changing the game for video collaboration.
Absolutely. So for our listeners out there, whether you're brand new to video editing or you've been doing it for years, Frame.io is definitely worth checking out. It's a game changer.
It really is.
It can simplify your workflow, make collaboration so much easier, and ultimately help you create even better videos. And that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Frame.io. I hope you found this helpful. And until next time, keep creating.